used to say, like, you have to break some eggs to make a cake.
Yes.
So sometimes you have to go through the messy parts to get to the good bits.
Yeah.
So
This is
that's
almost exactly what you were just saying.
yeah, exactly.
That's why you love that phrase.
Yeah. And I think, when sometimes, especially from a riding point of view, if someone's kind of got a habit and they feel comfortable in that habit, sometimes when you correct them, it feels quite alien to them. So yeah, just that feeling.
Because I think you have that thing in life, if you're doing the right thing, it should feel good. But if you're breaking a habit, it definitely will not feel good. Like in actual fact, it's the opposite of that.
Yeah.
If you're doing it correctly, it's going to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's funny with those sort of things, what lands with someone. Someone can say exactly the same thing, but if you give them the right visual picture, they say, oh, of course, yes. Okay, this has been a cunning plan to actually get me to meet Emily in person, because we've tried to do this a couple of times over Zoom and it's been an abject failure. So now, finally, even though we've lived in the same city, we haven't actually met in person. So I really love to thank Emily for doing this with me.
Thanks for having me.
You first came onto my radar with your wonderful, amazing, and I really encourage people to look at them, Instagram posts, which were some of them are explanation videos, and some of them were just her fantastic pole work exercises.
Oh, yeah.
So what led you to do those?
So I started making those videos, I think it was the second lockdown we had here in Canberra, and I just think I had a lot of time on my hands because work had slowed down a fair bit because of the lockdown. And it was about the time when Reels were becoming popular, on Instagram. And I thought, oh, that looks like fun. So I started doing that, and, there were some kind of funny ones. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm not actually coaching much at the moment, so how can I still help people? So, I just made kind of tips and things, just common issues that people have, like, how to keep your heels down, and just little things like that I thought might help some people out there. And it was really well received, which was
they were fantastic.
Yeah.
So how many of those ended up in blooper reels?
Quite a few.
I know for myself, I get tongue tied. Trying to do that. I just try to record as much as possible and then edit. There's a few the bloopers on there as well. Just getting tongue tied and not being able to get my words out properly, or like tripping over, or But no, it was good fun. Yeah. So how long did it take before you felt comfortable with that?
I think because it was just me on my own doing the videos by myself.
Yeah, because it literally was everyone by themselves at that stage.
I mean, I roped a friend in here and there to help with some of them. There's a couple on, how to use your seat effectively and like your contact. I think I didn't feel uncomfortable videoing them because it was just me.
You, just going.
I think if I had to do that in front of an audience, I'd be absolutely mortified. But it's pretty scary putting yourself out there on the internet for everybody to see. But
because you're a little introverted naturally.
Yeah,
which is a lot of coaches are.
Yeah, I was very, very shy growing up, which people find hard to believe sometimes. But I am a bit introverted, so it's a bit scary kind of putting yourself out there for everyone to sort of judge and
send, put it in.
It's a bit scary.
Did you get much feedback that was negative at all? I can't imagine those ones. They were very positive.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Some, not necessarily super negative, but if someone didn't agree with what I was saying or something like that, so why would you do that? But not really. It was mostly
that's wonderful.
Positive.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't hear about that a lot of it is positive. And it's how it hits those, how you hold that negativity from those.
Yeah. I do find, with coaching and horse riding, everything's very personal, right? Because we love it so much and we care, we put so much into it.
This is my baby. I love him so much. Yeah. Are you going to tell me nice things about my baby?
Yeah. And then, people don't always say nice things. So, some of the negative comments did rattle me a little bit, but not really. You move on from it. Yeah. I always think when people have negative things to say, it says more about them than it does about.
Yes.
Especially when they're hiding behind a keyboard.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes when you do reach out, you actually find a person that is hurting quite a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes not. Sometimes not. They're just
angry people.
they're just angry about something totally different. But yeah, it is a funny little world, that one.
Yeah.
So growing up, you're UK.
Yep. I grew up in the southeast of England.
Yep.
And moved here to Australia when I was 26 through travelling. I got here eventually. And been in Canberra for the last 9 years now.
You thought, why go to the warmest, nicest parts of...
I didn't realise Australia got cold in winter. And I spent my first winter working on a farm in Wombourne. And I was like, what have I done? But I stayed. So,
just
still here. Yeah.
So growing up with horses, how was that? Like, what's the difference, would you say, as just an overall view between the UK and Australia?
It's quite a big difference, actually. I think just because Australia is so big and less populated, you've got to travel a lot further for things. And just generally, I have to be careful when I say this, but just the sort of the standard of riding and the standard of quality of horse that's more readily available, because obviously in the UK we're very close to like the Netherlands and Germany and Denmark, which are known for breeding those kind of purpose bred.
Yes, we are the cast off thoroughbreds, which are a wonderful horse, but it really, if you look at 20 years ago to now, you would think it's a totally different, but for you, you're just seeing the better breeding only just coming in. Whereas for me, like I see a huge difference from 20 years ago from horses that you go, oh my God, whereas that horse now you go, why would you put up with that?
Yeah.
And also because people are often, not always, but their interaction with their animals isn't always on a daily, weekly basis. So their horsemanship is totally different to what it used to be.
And it's interesting, but I do find there are definitely positives here. Like I find over here horses are much more readily allowed to be horses. Whereas in the UK, they're stabled overnight all the time, and we always ours were stabled overnight, but we always made sure they got turned out during the day. But over here, it's much more kind of laid back in that respect. They're allowed to be out in herds in big paddocks, obviously because you've got the space.
Yes.
So there's definitely positives, but it is a big difference for sure.
And Canberra is quite different like that in terms of how the adjustment and per capita of riders to horses and stuff like that, because there is those facilities that are very cheaply, relatively available. So,
and I think some of the facilities here in Canberra are fantastic, like Equestrian Park. There's nothing like that in the UK. That's just free for everybody. Well, not free. We pay horse levies, but like that's fantastic. Like the amount of kind of arenas and facilities and the cross country course and even the trail riding is.
Oh, exactly.
Is great.
If you look at the bike parks, which that's a different story altogether. But bike parks and the access to saddleways and stuff like that around Canberra is phenomenal.
It's great.
Really phenomenal.
Yeah.
So what really made you? So you obviously grew up with horses. Little break from horses. What drew you back?
So the main break that I had was when I went travelling.
Yep.
So I was backpacking.
You're
so
backpacking as you have to.
Yeah. So I didn't really have it, but it wasn't that long of a break. And I just really missed it. I was living in Sydney.
Yep.
And I just needed to get near a horse. So I walked up to Centennial Park.
Okay. Yeah.
And walked into one of the riding schools there and said, like, I'll pay to have a lesson. Just let me ride a horse. And she said, what's your experience? And I explained to her what I'd done in the UK.
We need you.
And they asked me to come and coach. So I worked a corporate job sort of Monday to Friday and then coached at the riding school there all day Saturdays. And that was kind of my foot in the door to coaching, I suppose. It's like my first taste of like coaching in a professional capacity.
Yeah. Okay. So how old were you at that stage?
26 or 7.
Okay.
6, I think. 26.
Yeah. So in your mother's yard, you'd been helping out, but not never really coaching.
Yeah, I'd helped out, like, you know, done a few beginner. We had a pony, my pony that once I grew out of her, we did a few lessons with her, like beginner level, and I'd help out friends here and there. And I was very lucky growing up. My mum is a fantastic coach and judge and rider. She doesn't ride so much anymore. So I've always grown up around kind of very good instruction and eyes on the ground, and you know, people coming in for lessons all the time, and you know, as you know, you learn a lot from watching other people. So much. So much. I kind of had a lot of knowledge and experience there
without realizing even.
But hadn't really kind of turned my attention to actually becoming a coach myself.
Was there something that stood out to you when you started coaching that you weren't expecting?
I just loved it. Like, I loved the joy that people get from it, and just even little things, like just little goals of improving and how they can improve. I think it's maybe a little bit of a selfish thing, because I'm like, I really helped that person. Like, I helped them do that. But it's a really nice feeling, kind of helping people and
it is
having so much fun with it.
I think I personally struggle with that a little bit, because I came a little bit more towards high performance initially, and that's like, it doesn't matter what you think. Like, did you get to that level? Like, whereas the coaching I do now is, well, what's your best that you can do? And then they get so excited by passing their own person. It doesn't matter, you know, this artificial criteria sometimes that we put on. You know, they're just so happy that you helped them, or they got themselves to whatever this thing was, and that is so really beautiful.
And you know, I've got a range of clients, and you know, some of them are, you know, they want to improve their scores at elementary level, like at official competitions, and then I've got other clients who, like, her goal is just to have a canter, to feel comfortable having a canter
without feeling I'm going to
die. And I kind of get equal satisfaction from helping both those kinds of riders. It doesn't matter what their goal is. Just kind of helping them work towards that, meeting them where they are.
Not putting something else onto them.
Exactly,
no, that's a really... So do you find then, has that helped your own riding? Or... So obviously being time poor, you know, sometimes with our own riding as coach, when we're often giving of other things to other people, and then we go to, this is my moment to quickly do the thing.
So there's kind of two sides to this. Yes, it has definitely helped me with my own riding, like 100%. I think, like I said, I was very lucky growing up to have lots of instruction. And so things that I found easy doesn't necessarily mean that other
people without
find
realizing
it easy.
Sometimes, because you haven't learned it because you've just felt it the whole time. Sometimes you can't, hang on, what are you struggling with?
So I found really kind of breaking things down, like even just the most basic skill. Well, why is that not working for them? How do we do it? Kind of breaking it down into little steps and then working right from the beginning all the way up. And I think that made me really think about things that, like, let's take beginner example, like rising trot. What are the kind of biomechanics behind that? How do we keep our balance when we're standing up? Like something that just comes like that.
You just ride up. And then you suddenly go, oh, hang on, what do you do?
I say thinking about it like that has changed my thinking about my own riding. The other side of that is, as a coach, I definitely put a lot more pressure on myself now that I have to do well and have to be seen to be doing well. But I think that's just
the artificial.
My own head.
It is that because it's that funny thing, you want your students to see you as a human being, which is foibles and mistakes and growing, and you know, no one is at their end journey. But that thing, I don't want them to, you know,
think that I'm terrible. Go, why am I having lessons with this person?
Behind, you know, they always say, you know, don't look behind the curtain of a performance, and because that is messy. Like it is, training 100%. Is messy.
And I think since I spoke to you last, I've done a few competitions. And I had my worst ever score in a dressage test that I've ever had. It was pretty mortifying. And nothing went terribly wrong. It was just a slightly difficult horse. She got very, very hot in the test, and just made too many little mistakes across each movement, which kind of brought that whole mark
the whole thing went down.
But you know, if you were to just look at a clip of it, you'd be like, oh, that's not terrible. But it was not great. And it was like, oh no, people are going to see this like on the results.
Especially these days, the internet is like, the results go up.
Everything's on there, and it's like on the official record. And But I actually had a mum of some girls that I teach go, you know, that was really great for the girls to see that. And go, oh, we wonder what happened. And, you know, it's good to see that even coaches can have bad days too. And I think it kind of humanises us a little bit. So that made me feel a little bit better. Just a little bit.
For a moment was. No, it is, because you don't sometimes know what other people's takeaways are going to be until like that example where you're thinking they're going to think blah, 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 blah. Whereas they're, the big thing, like we loved that the girls saw this.
Yeah.
And that not everything is perfect every day. And because, you know, people do think, you know, which we all like to think that of, if I put in the hard work, then I always just get it back. That's
not true.
That's definitely, especially then when you add a horse into the equation as well, and then you add different environments and all the stuff that goes into it.
Yeah.
And
I was actually quite pleased with the test that I did, considering the situation that I managed to keep a lid on it and actually get through and finish. And,
everyone breathe.
You know, and actually there was a couple of good scores in there as well. So, you know, I was happy with that.
Yeah.
I think that's all that
I think
really.
That's dressage in particular, where, you know, people compare scores across competitions. And that's like, because you don't know, was it a howling gale at this one? Was the judging a little harsher? Was, you know, was it pouring rain? Was it, you know, all the things that can be happening? Was it kangaroo jumping across, you know, all this? Was a little white pony flashing across in the background that happens? So, you know, sometimes when you get into that judgmental mindset of, you know, comparison, which we all do, you know, that, you know, envy. And especially when you've got a fixed score, that you go, well, it must be this, you know, how can I be doing better if I've got this score? Whereas, as you said, two of the movements and the overall fact that it didn't explode. So we all know that was, but we all know that if we can contain things and get them to breathe and stay in the space, sometimes that's the biggest victory we have with a hot horse.
And even, I was just so pleased with how she warmed up. I could have gone home after the warm up and not done the test. I was so happy with how she warmed up. So for me, that was a win.
Yeah, you'd already.
Won the warm up. Won the warm up.
That's an important thing, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you win the warm up. So, as a mother and as a sole trader that has to juggle everyone else's times, everyone else's things, family, all that stuff, how do you organise your days, weeks, without curling up at the end of the day and sucking your thumb?
Well, I definitely do that some
definitely
days.
do that.
I think probably organising my calendar is one of the most stressful things. There's nothing worse than having a blank month ahead and going, okay, like where am I going to try and fit everything in? So how do I organise it? I try and look at a month ahead and plan where I'm going to be when, and try and get all my clients that are in one area on the same day each month, or, you know, weekly, or however often. I'm very lucky that I've got amazing in-laws. So they have Henry Mondays and Fridays. So I can get a lot of work done on those days. That makes such a difference,
doesn't it? You need that support network. It really 100%, does make a difference. And very lucky that we're in a fortunate enough position that I don't have to send him to daycare. Okay, so he doesn't have to go at all?
He doesn't go at all to daycare. He 2 days with his grandparents, and then I have him during the week, and then my husband does his share when I'm coaching on the weekends. So it means possibly we don't spend as much quality time together.
That is the trouble as a coach. You often, when everyone is available, that's when the family could be there. Yeah, totally.
So we try and keep Sundays as a rule.
That's our holy day of this family time.
The last 2 weeks that has not happened.
You've broken that rule.
But it's,
however,
there are exceptions.
And we humbly and sincerely apologises for
that. So I think, last Sunday I was competing, and then the Sunday before that I ran a clinic which went over 2 days. So, but generally do try and keep those Sundays free. And then, just try and fit in people before my husband's work hours. In the evenings after he gets home from work, we do a quick switch over. Chuck the toddler at him and then run out the door. And often recently, because I've been so busy, Henry has had to come with me to lessons, which is a little hit and miss of how that goes.
Totally. Sometimes it's, you know, they're quite happily sitting there. Other times they're, it depends on the mood of the day. Or he still has a nap during the day. So
touch wood, about 2 hours in the middle of the day.
Ooh,
so
golden.
if I can get him to sleep in the pram and get a couple of lessons done or ride a couple of horses in that time, that's great.
Golden.
Doesn't always.
So you're hoping he never grows out of that 2 hour nap.
I'm dreading the day. Dreading the day.
When some people, it'll be so beautiful when they're
stay asleep. I had 2 horses to ride the other day. He fell asleep in the car on the way there. So I left him in the car, just opened all the doors, and he was already awake by the time I finished the first horse, and I still had one more to do. And I was like, oh no, what am I going to do here? So it's a little bit stressful juggling that.
And no matter what you do, like, kids have no perception of danger. Like, they just don't. And to set up your environment that is child friendly, especially when you're
traveling out to people.
That's what I mean. Like, it's hard enough if you are located at home and you've got your playpen and all that sort of stuff. But when you're traveling all the time, say you're lugging 5,000 bits of equipment
100%.
maybe he will sleep, maybe he won't.
Yeah.
And the time you don't lug it is the time he was awake and buzzing around.
And all of the snacks for the day as well, and everything that you could possibly need, like going out the door, 500 bags and the kid.
And then someone else saying, so you ready to go? You wait.
I'm running a bit late, or I have to do like a nappy change or something like that, But luckily everyone's pretty understanding.
Yeah, I've got to say, most people are pretty understanding.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the clients that I have are parents themselves, so they understand.
Yeah.
And there are some people that, I completely get it, that don't want that, and that's fine. And I do try and avoid it where possible.
Yep. Yeah, and you just, for those clients, you just go, look, I can only, if you need that of me, I can only do this day or that day.
And people are pretty good about fitting in. Yeah.
I think that's, some of that probably, because sometimes we as coaches try to be jack of all trades and try to be so helpful to everyone that we forget, well, if you want that of me, then this is what's available of me. Whereas if we just put that parameter, then both of us can be happy. And if that's not possible, that's unfortunate.
Okay. Yeah. And I've definitely had to be a lot stricter on that since having Henry, just because I only have certain times available.
Yes,
that I
it's almost good in some ways because it makes you go, you know what, I have to be okay with saying no.
Yeah, I'm going to be here on this day.
Yep. Yeah.
If you guys can't make it, then we'll just try again next month.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And I think when I first started out as a freelance coach, I was sort of bending over backwards to try, because you're trying to build your client base and do that. And I had the time and the flexibility to do that. But I can't be like that anymore. Sometimes
you make it so hard for yourself.
Yeah.
And so it's sustainable in the short term, but very not in the long term. So what's your, obviously when you ride yourself, that's your little me time. What else do you do for me time? I'm sorry, what do you speak of for me time?
Look, a couple of hours alone at night time, binge watching reality TV and just sort of zoning out for a bit.
My husband walks in, sweetheart, what are you up to? I don't know.
He's like, are you even watching the TV? I'm like, no, just resting. I go to Stromlo Gym.
Okay.
So I do a few like yoga classes and things. They've got a creche there, so I
wonderful.
can pop Henry in there and just have an hour, and then I go with a few friends and we'll catch up for a coffee afterwards. But that's it really. I don't really have much me time.
I mean, he's at that hard stage of me time as well.
Yeah.
When that age group is hard because they do need you so much. But then when they get older, suddenly you almost do the thing again of throwing yourself into I'm available for everything and still forget what about me.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I burn out a bit of, you just gave yourself so much back to the other and you forgot, well, what?
And I think that's especially hard as a sole trader because if you don't work, you don't get paid.
Yes, exactly.
So there's almost that guilt of, if I have a bit of free time, then I should use that to be working.
I've got to be doing something productive here.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'll pay for this later.
Yeah.
Somehow. Which I reckon that is one of the hardest things for us as coaches, to be that juggling act of giving but knowing for ourselves to be able to give better, we actually need to dial back in. Yes, exactly.
Fill our own cups. Yeah.
But were you ever much into the gym before?
A A little bit, but not. I prefer doing classes.
Yeah.
Because I don't really have to think for
That
myself.
sort of gives you that accountability to someone else.
Go in, and I'm not. So my husband actually, he doesn't do this anymore, but was a qualified personal trainer. So he's super into the gym and sports and working out. But it's just never been.
That was never you.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You used to watch. That's nice.
Yeah. And he's done like a few training sessions with me, and he's really mean, and I don't like it. He's like, 10 more push-ups. I'm like, no, I don't want to.
It's just 10 more than I could do before. Why aren't you happy for me?
Yeah, but no, I definitely prefer the classes and going. I normally go with a friend as well. So it's like a bit more social and a bit more
so
fun,
that's sort of your network time as well to just interact with someone that's not saying, my horse did.
I go with non-horsey people.
So was it difficult finding a support network? I mean, you've obviously got your in-laws. Outside that? Yeah,
I think anyone who's moved to a new country will understand how tricky it can be to kind of set yourself up.
Yep.
Not just in terms of business and client base, but like friends, especially when you're in I was in my late 20s.
Yes, it's suddenly very different, yes.
Yeah, so I was very lucky to find a few friends that I actually just ended up living with through a house share situation.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And, still really close friends with some of them. And obviously my husband's family and friends as well.
You've inherited them.
Yeah, they're now my friends. And also through work, and I've become really good friends with a couple of my clients.
Yep.
And other coaches as well. So there's a couple of girls,
really
Caitlin and Tori, that I'm really good friends with, and it's really nice actually to have people that work in a similar
bounce things off. And,
100%. And even just they get it.
Yes.
And Caitlin's a mum as well. So
and that makes such a difference.
We can really kind of relate about things. Just even if it was like, oh my God, this happened today.
I can't believe this happened.
So no, it's really nice to have that. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. So I assume, now not putting any pressure on you, but you'll do the fantastic Christmas polls coming out soon on Instagram. I think it's a must. Like that's elaborate. How long does that take you to set up?
Well, I plan it out.
For 3 years.
For 3 years, no. And then probably about half an hour.
Yep.
Because just laying out all the poles in itself, this is why I do dressage. I'm not jumping, there's no equipment. And I have to
you just walk in, walk out.
Set some cones up maybe sometimes. But it's a little bit fiddly doing all the pacing out of the distances and things. And
you get one angle wrong and it's suddenly all different.
So I'd probably get there about half an hour early. I haven't actually planned any pole work clinics lately.
Oh, okay.
I've just been busy doing everything else.
Just been busy being
and I find, I find they're really good. I think they're really beneficial for people's training. But I think people want to jump.
Yes, they either want to do the flat work or the jump. Like if we're doing, whereas poles are like just amazing.
Yeah, it's so good for
what you can highlight, what you can see as a weakness, what you can, timing.
Come to my pole clinics.
Shameless plug.
So I should plan one of those. I'm doing some for the Moran Bateman Adult Riders Club. I find for the riding club group ones, they work really well. It's a little bit more interesting than straight flat work. Some people think that. And, for the people that are not maybe confident enough to jump.
It's not too intimidating.
100%. And it's great to do as a group.
Yes.
Like to direct as a group, because even if, you're not got your full attention focused on one person, they're still doing the thing.
It really gives them confidence to do decision making. Like, in that interactive space. This is what we're doing. This is what are possibilities. But you're in that moment, I need you to take this responsibility. And you really then seeing, who freezes, who thrives, who tries to make a decision but doesn't commute that to the horse, and all that sort of stuff, and which horse takes over. But once again, it's not under that much pressure. So the pressure is normally internally. Either horse or rider or both. And it's such a good thing that you can actually really, in terms of coaching opportunities, you can really coach a rider and say, hey, this is what I see is happening.
It's really good. And I find actually in a group situation, coaching over the poles is much easier than on the flat.
Yeah.
I think with the poles, they've got like a set task
Yes.
to do, even though you would have that on the flat. It's
Yes,
just
but
bit...
it becomes a bit more obvious to them what you're trying to do. Yeah, it's a bit like taking a thoroughbred and giving it a 20-meter circle and just goes, I don't know what you're doing. And you've gone around this 3 times. What do you want from me?
At least with the poles, it gives them a good visual. It's set out. They know kind of where they have to go.
Yeah.
So, no, I really enjoy teaching them, and I find people get a lot out of it as well.
No, that real, you almost see sometimes a real buzz in the group of, look at what we did. You see this energy. And then, of course, the next group come in and go, I want that energy too.
Yeah, this looks great. That looks like so much fun. So, yeah.
Whereas sometimes, teaching cross country, you can get that same buzz, but sometimes, hey, buddy. But sometimes, as they say, fear is contagious. Like if someone has a bad moment, a group can go from, loving this to everyone's going,
Yeah, definitely.
The other way around.
Yeah, I've actually got a client at the moment. I don't teach them jumping.
Yeah.
But she's got a couple of friends who have had some bad falls.
Oh, okay.
And now she's lost
her
confidence.
It's
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's like she wasn't
beforehand
there at the time,
Yep.
and it's just hearing about these other things that could possibly go wrong can really affect some people.
Yes, totally. Yeah. And sometimes watching or hearing is actually more, because you're definitely not in control of that moment.
Yeah.
It's then that intrusive thought going, oh my God, that could happen to me at any time. So.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, how people's minds work.
So last thought, what would you tell your younger self?
I think...
Move to Australia earlier.
Yeah. Trust your instincts, I think.
Yeah.
They've got you this far. And
You've survived this
far, yeah. And just have faith in yourself. Have confidence in doing what you're doing. Cause,
Suddenly attacked by flies.
Yeah. I think...
So what was that instinctual moment that you were going, I'm really glad I trust myself? I mean, obviously...
moving to Australia.
I think I've
followed my gut on a lot of decisions. Obviously, like with the logical thinking behind it as well, but very much if I get a feeling about something, I trust my gut. Yeah.
Oh, good.
It tells me this isn't right. I don't like this. I'm like, nope, absolutely not. Or just approach a situation with a bit more caution.
Yeah.
When some things just feel right.
Yes.
Yeah. Very much
you go with
off that. Yeah.
Okay. So even if it then isn't quite what you imagined, but it's taking you on a path somewhere.
Yeah,
oh, good.
Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Like even when I went traveling, those first few years when you're traveling on your own, it's quite tough. And just sort of making that decision to stay and see that through.
All your anchoring is gone.
Yeah. So even just with that, I was like, no, I've made this decision to do it. I'm staying.
So is that stubbornness? Or is it?
I think so. Yeah, definitely. My mum says I'm determined, and my dad says I'm bloody minded.
Everyone else says you're exasperating.
Yeah. But no, I think once I've made my mind up to do something, I'm very much...
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
So what age did you think I'm going to travel next? Was that long before, or been thinking about it for a while?
No, it was kind of a bit out of the blue.
Oh, okay.
I'd having a bit of a hard time in the UK. I'd been through a breakup and was working in a job that I didn't
really
like.
Need to reset.
Yeah, my friend said, me and my friend are going traveling and we're going to do this and that. And I was like, that sounds amazing. And they were like, you should come. And I was like, okay.
Cool.
I couldn't think of one reason to say no. So
and because sometimes you do manufacture a reason to, and you could still be in the UK going,
yeah. So it was very unlike me to actually
so
do
it's a
something
real
that's
big trust you got that
yeah.
moment in there.
And it just felt 100% right.
Oh, fantastic.
And it's led me to this. So it was obviously the right decision.
You know what you said earlier about not being swooped by a magpie?
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
He's eyeing up that biscuit.
Yes. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank
really,
you for having me.
really appreciate it.
Third time lucky.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, that was the other, sorry, last question. Okay. Phrase that you love.
Did I say a lot?
Yes, or that you hear a lot. That you, when you hear it, go, I love that.
I think I said this one to you last time, but my mum always used to say, like, you have to break some eggs to make a cake.
Yes.
So sometimes you have to go through the messy parts to get to the the good bits.
Yeah.
So
This is
that's
almost exactly what you were just saying.
yeah, exactly.
That's why you love that brain.
Yeah. And I think, you know, when sometimes, especially from a riding point of view, if someone's kind of got a habit and they feel comfortable in that habit, sometimes when you correct them, it feels quite alien to them. So yeah, just that feeling.
Because I think you have that thing in life, if you're doing the right thing, it should feel good. But if you're breaking a habit, it definitely will not. It definitely will not feel good. Like in actual fact, it's the opposite of that.
Yeah.
If you're doing it correctly, it's going to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's funny with those sort of things, what lands with someone. You know, someone can say exactly the same thing, but if you give them the right visual picture, they say, "Oh, of course, yes." So love it. Thank you so much.